Alrighty, so the Colfax City Council meeting of March 11th, 2026 is in session, and we are in two locations this evening, both from council chambers and Colfax. And if Councilmember Burrish is able to make it on, she will be at 2600 Bishop Drive in San Ramon. That does mean that all of our votes will have to be roll call votes, just so everybody knows. We'll have to run through that. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. City Clerk, can you please take roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Burris, not online yet. Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Councilmember Lohman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg.
Here.
And Mayor McCauley.
Present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda order, please?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay. And since Burris isn't here, do we need to do a roll call yet?
Yes.
Just do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Burris. Absent. Councilmember Douglas.
Aye.
Councilmember Lohman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg.
Aye.
Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Do we have any new conflict of interest from the council?
No change. No.
No. Okay, no change. Perfect. So we will start with our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a council vote, unless a council member or a member of our public chooses to pull something from the consent item. Items pulled will be addressed after the council completes the consent calendar vote and will require a separate motion. Is there any items that the council would like to pull from consent?
No.
No. Do we have any items that the public would like to pull? Okay, looks not. All right, and do we have any public comment on consent items? No, we didn't pull anything. Okay. So roll call vote then. Actually, motion to approve the.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
We have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Thank you. And Councilmember Burris is online.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Councilmember Burris.
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas.
Aye.
Councilmember Lohman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg.
Aye.
Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, so we will move right into agency reports. And it looks like we get to start with Highway Patrol this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Officer Jason Lyman, California Highway Patrol, Gold Run Area Public Information Officer. I'm going to start out with a few statistics we had for last month. We issued 321 citations and 296 verbal warnings. We had a total of 307 motorist services. We had a total of 18 arrests. 16 of those were DUI related. We had thankfully no fatality collisions. We had a total of 24 collisions. 7 of those were injuries and 17 were property damage only. We've been having just awesome, wonderful weather here lately, so there's not a lot of other stuff going on. It is, getting warmer, so the construction season is coming up quickly. They are talking about getting back started on the widening project all the way up through the hill here, and just in the next, probably in the next couple of weeks or so, they'll be back out there getting after it again. They are already working on the Highway 20 bridge. Nothing that's blocking lanes yet, but they're still working on the underneath stuff where they're prepping to get the new deck done, and they'll have to be doing the crossover lanes like they did last year. They'll just be on the opposite sides this year. I expect them to be getting after on that stuff here very shortly. Anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir. Yes.
Harry, excuse me, Harry, can you go to the podium? Because I know they're having trouble hearing on the audio. So could you come and ask your question into the microphone, please? Thank you.
Anyway, on 174, that bridge that covers the Bear River,
Okay.
and they're doing all the tree work. Mountain Express is working on 174.
Okay.
Two things. They had big trucks sitting on that bridge. And the whole time we're sitting on that bridge, it's going, and I'm thinking to myself, how old is this thing? And putting that much weight on that thing? I don't think that's such a good idea. And then sitting there, coming this direction, I counted 46 cars before we were able to go through. And is there some kind of a rule or a template or something that they're supposed to follow for the traffic control there?
No, there is not. They do try to mitigate that as much as possible, but in order for them to get their work done, they've got to have the lanes blocked and they're dropping trees and everything there. They can't obviously have cars weaving in and out of that.
I understand.
But they try the best they can to keep things moving back and forth as much as possible. But there's just a lot of traffic on 174 and it's, they're definitely not trying to cause any more problem than they have to.
Exactly. I just wondered if there was some kind of awareness that they should have, like, when you see cars backed up a quarter of a mile, maybe time out.
Yeah. No, there isn't really a specific rule on that. If Caltrans does at some points, and they've done it on 80 many times, where stuff just gets backed up so much, they do just pick up their closure and try it again another day. But
Can't do that with the tree thing.
Yeah, you can't really stop while you've got trees falling on the ground.
Right.
So
I just wondered, it was kind of creepy sitting on that bridge with that much weight sitting there that long. I'm thinking, this is old stuff.
yeah.
How well is it, looked at? Do they wait till, oh no, that kind of thing?
I know they do in bridge inspections quite regularly. I do not know what their schedules are and
That's a Caltrans question.
yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mhm. Anything else? Yes.
I have a snow question. The last one I'll ever ask. On the snow day we had a month ago or whatever, took me 30 minutes to go 3 blocks before I could get on the freeway. Once I got on the freeway, it was a parking lot the entire way from Colfax to the city limits of Auburn. And I was wondering if there's a way that we can put something on that digital sign going up the hill, telling people to get off at Bowman Road or get off at Auburn instead of idling that entire 12 miles.
Yeah, Caltrans does use their CMS signs very regularly for that and post that, and its stuff is posted online on their Caltrans sites and our sites. People have a tendency not to pay attention to that stuff.
I'd give a ticket.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just a mess when it comes to that kind of weather, and there's not a whole lot of better options with that. Yes.
I noticed you had almost as many warnings as you did citations.
Yes.
Is that typical? It
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like they're so close. And in either case, could you characterize for us what sort of warnings they might be? Just some examples.
Well, a good example would be you stop somebody for speeding. That's not, I mean, obviously they're not doing 90 or 100, they're doing in the low mid 80s, and somebody is honest about it and, open to listening to you. That I personally feel that goes a long ways. When you just write tickets, people just treat it, we're just tax collectors and it means nothing to them. They just get mad and it actually causes more problems sometimes because they're like, well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. They're just going to take my money and that's it. So sometimes when it's a good scene for that, a verbal warning goes, I think, a very long ways towards educating people, and it puts them in, they're willing to accept a little teaching moment when you're not just feeling like you're just taxing them on their money. So, but it goes, it's definitely, there's not a, thankfully we have the ability to use our judgment on that when we stop somebody. There, it's the kind of the totality of the circumstances on what all was involved in the stop, and how egregious it was, and the attitude of the driver on what their thinking was. And it is a very good tool if it's used correctly. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cal Fire.
Good evening, Clint Sievert, Battalion Chief for Cal Fire, Placer County Fire. For last month's call volume here at Station 30, we had 3 vegetation fires, 4 residential structure fires, 2 vehicle fires, 36 medical aids, for a total of 92 calls, and that's all out of Station 30 right here across the freeway. For us, we are still preparing for some VMP burns. You can notice some of the work that we've done lately out at the wastewater treatment plant. We've gone through there and prepped, and we're hopeful that starting in May, we'll do some VMP project work through the wastewater treatment plant, the old dump site, and then also in Burnt Flat. And that is to help with the North Fork Phase 1 fuel break, and that's just more treatment as we go back through and make sure that those lands are still managed and well kept, and we're not just letting it grow right back to where it was before after doing all that work. So we'll be in there doing some prescribed fire hopefully in May, and you'll see some of that, and we'll put signs and notification out as we get closer to those projects. We are still working on bringing everyone back to be full staffing starting March 16th. So that is our full seasonal staffing with all of our fire engines and across all of NEU, which is Placer County, Yuba, and Nevada counties. So you'll see that we're fully staffed. We're just waiting on aircraft. We don't have a date yet for our aircraft to show up, but it will be closer to June 1st, I would say, as we'll see all those aircraft arrive and prepared for fire season. Now, if things do change, like the heat wave that we're supposed to experience in the next couple of weeks, where it'll be 80 degrees here shortly, and we have a need for aircraft, there is aircraft out of McClellan, so it's not there, but we are prepared and we can move that date forward as fire season progresses. So end of report for us. Any questions?
Do you have any questions from the public? No. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any reports from any of our nonprofits? I don't think we have any of them here today. Okay. Moving on, we don't have any presentations or public hearings this evening, so we will move on to public comment. Every member of the public has the opportunity to address the city council for comment. You may speak to the council on any item that is not on our agenda. The council cannot act on the items. However, we can, of course, take notes and refer them to staff if needs be. Please come to the podium, speak your name clearly at your discretion, state your address if you choose to, and go ahead and make your comments brief. You have 5 minutes. Do we have anybody that'd like to make public comment today? No? No? Are you going to go for it, Harry? Okay.
Good evening, council, members of the audience. This is a history lesson. Anybody remember that? That was called the Colfax Pit Stop. And we actually had flyers for this thing. This was in 1992. And, no, excuse me, 93, August 5th through the 8th. And this is, as I said, this is the flyer that we created for this event. And what it was a rally, basically, that people went to different spots on this map. And they checked in and people got prizes for what they did, what have you. It was quite a deal. Car show was with it. And can you, I don't know how good you can see all this, but these are all the different sponsors that we had. A lot of them. Actually, there were 39 sponsors. They were all businesses in town. Of course, a lot of them don't exist anymore, but It was a great event. We did t-shirts for it, obviously. So you're gonna see, this is what we did. And so I'm going to get with a local 5013C and I'm going to see if we can bring this back. So we have something else that's a little bit more specified. Connie Heileman was the chairperson. Kathy Miles from the Chamber of Commerce, Elaine Jacob, and Harry Anderson from Big O Tires. We were the people that made that happen. The other thing I want to talk about briefly is something that very good. For 2024. That's a list of the donation money from our 3rd of July celebration. And I personally handed out checks here. The sad part, not one of those people that got any kind of a contribution thanked anybody. Not a word, not a card, not a call, zero. And I think that's pretty poor behavior. I would like to think that people have a better code of ethics than to just to take the money and not say anything. It was $3,000. And that $3,000 represented the last of the money because somehow, some way, just like the state of California can't find $28 billion for homeless people, we couldn't find $9,000 that was generated through the event on sales. It went somewhere, just like the 28 billion in California, it went somewhere. So I'd like to see a change of attitude with our people like that on that list that get money. They should actually be held accountable to say something of gratitude. So anyway, that was that. And the only other question I have is we gave back the 3,000 to zero. We had nothing. I have no idea. Did you ever get the spreadsheet for 2025? Why? Why not? See, that's the kind of thing that in this day and age with all the controversy about where money is going and hidden and all this kind of stuff, if nobody's doing anything wrong, it should be right out there in front of everybody, plain and simple. So anyway, hopefully our 26th celebration is a good one. And I might like to remind everybody, this is our 50th anniversary of that. And I really hope we do something magnanimous with this because it's a once in a lifetime of our lifetime. And I'd like to help with that if I get the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lori Vandiver. I was here 2 weeks ago with some concerns about some unfinished projects here in town. They're still unfinished. I don't expect 2 weeks to make a huge difference. The cars are still parked in the city on the streets, unregistered. Again, I get it. But what are your leverage? What are your levers that you can pull? How can you make a difference in pushing these kinds of things along? Is it totally in the hands of the property owner? Or how can we address this? And where does it come from? I did ask, I submitted vehicle license plates and vehicles sitting in the streets, and they have not yet been tagged. I don't know if the sheriff's office was notified. I've made a complaint once before. We, again, didn't get a response from them. So I'm just a bit frustrated. And I know we can't fix this in 2 weeks, maybe not even 2 months. But what can we do? And what is the authority that the city council holds? So those are just big questions. So I'll just continue. Any response, questions, concerns?
If I can ask, did you email me your list of
I did.
cards? I didn't see it. So I've been looking for you. walking in town.
Okay, yeah,
So maybe
I-
we can get together after and I can make sure I get your phone number at least.
Okay,
So we can-
I'll bring it in
Yeah.
paper form if
Yeah, it
that's
wasn't
what we
lack
need
of,
to
I
do.
just kept looking and didn't see it and then I don't know what happened,
Okay,
but it wasn't for, you know, it's in my head.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
okay, I appreciate it. So spring is upon us. Some of the businesses I spoke to said there's no movement, there's no response to their owners. The projects continue to be incomplete. The building is still propped up. I don't know what your authority is, so we'll just leave it at that and hopefully you can respond. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Nope. Okay, so we will go ahead and close public comment and we will move on to our next agenda item for council and staff and start with our committee reports. We will start at the end. Sean.
Just got out of the LAFCO meeting. Let's see, go back through my calendar here. Move so fast, I didn't have time to make my notes. That was about it. Oh, Placer County Flood Control District meeting was the other one, just routine business at both. That's all I had.
Thank you. Kim?
I attended in Roseville, the quarterly county city meeting where all six governments, city council, mayors get together. We have a guest speaker and we exchange information. This one was in Roseville and it was the theme was GSEC, GSEC, which is Greater Sacramento Economic Council. And it's a 6-county-wide. It's like the economic development, which Larry is on, but it's for 6 counties. And just a few of the items that came out of this was this outfit, GSEC, Greater Sacramento Economic Council, was rated the #1 corporation in the country that does this kind of work. So they're highly respected and efficient. Just a few statistics.
Kim, is your microphone on? Sean just turned his off, so perfect.
I'll start all over again. Hello, my name is Kim Duggan. Yeah. It was a city county dinner in Roseville, Greater Economic Council. And some of the highlights were they talked about how this area is the 4th largest economy in California. There are 36,000 jobs associated with it, 711,000 college-age students within a 100-mile radius, 9.5% population increase, #2 in the state for having favorable tax policies. That's impressive, right? Yeah. #3, rate #3 for destination for Bay Area tech workers. And the only thing lacking in this whole presentation was they forgot to serve dessert. You're up.
No meeting scheduled.
All right. I had SACOG, the Policy and Innovation Group, and I also attended the dinner with Kim and Ron as well. And I was excited to see that I had several conversations in the last 2 weeks from people reaching out either themselves looking to put a business in Colfax or they had a friend that was looking for areas. So it's kind of exciting to see that they're looking for spaces that are open and available. And Ron and our inspector, Joe, were able to get a list together real quick and be able to pass them out. So it's kind of exciting to see that people are looking into moving into some of our empty spots. So that's right. Trinity, do you have reports for us this week?
I do not have anything new to report this week.
Thank you. All right.
All right, for this week, we filled the maintenance worker one position, someone local. So that'll be nice for call outs and callbacks. Attended the big boy planning meeting, negotiated an agreement with a company that for Prop 65 grant funding. So write us some grants, or we can get some street money, maybe some other monies for that. That was all Katrina's doing, but let's see. Assisted maintenance staff for the installation of the new monitor, still waiting for the new cords, so that's why the cords are taped to the wall. Let's see, maintenance has moved the art piece that was behind the screen into the hallway. Hope everybody noticed it. I think it looks kind of nice up there instead of the old beat up bulletin board. And safety and operations training with the new staff on the heavy equipment, and of course, pothole filling throughout the city. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Yes, we do appreciate the moving into the 20th century for our chambers with having a actual monitor up there. Thank you very much. All right, so we do have an update from our city council.
City attorney. Update on a request to the Fair Political Practices Commission on a conflicts question about Mayor McCauley's interest in railroad days. The FPPC is the state agency that oversees and enforces the Political Reform Act. And one thing they do is offer advice on public officials' compliance with the PRA and Government Code Section 1090 to financial ethics laws. I requested a memo from them on Mayor McCauley's interest in railroad days, and they confirmed she does not have a prohibited financial conflict of interest. She may participate in decisions to grant funds from the city's Economic Development Fund if she announces her interest in railroad days at the start. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that, but that's my update.
Thank you so very much. Okay, we will move on to council business at that point. So the first item of council business this evening is our fiscal year 25-26 mid-year budget review as of December 31st of 2025. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cities perform a mid-year budget review to evaluate how the budget is actually performing compared to what was originally adopted and to make adjustments as needed. Often unseen issues can change a budget after it has been implemented. A mid-year review helps the city stay financially stable and transparent. Tonight, Katrina Olson, the city's Administrative Services Officer, is here to discuss the mid-year findings, request adjustments, and answer any of your questions. Katrina, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I've put together a little PowerPoint presentation to, by the way, good evening, Mayor and council members. I put together a short PowerPoint to highlight the key points to the mid-year budget, to not get too far into the weeds. Staff is recommending tonight that review and adoption of the next resolution in order, amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget with a couple of adjustments that will be focused on at the end of the presentation. Yes, you can go to the next slide. All right, so looking at the general fund revenues, Grant, this is as of December 31st, 2025. So, or another quarter in, but at that point, general funds received as of 12/31, or what they were 1.14 million of the 2.69 budgeted for the fiscal year. Revenues received were 42% of the budgeted revenue, which was 6% less than the 1.2 million received at the same time last year in December 31st, 2024. Next slide. So I put together a little pie chart of the general fund revenues. The city's largest general fund revenue is sales tax, with collections of 50% of the budgeted revenues. That is a decrease from the previous fiscal year of 23%. The second largest general fund revenue is property tax, and as of December 31st, that was only 2% received of the total budget. But that was prior to the first major apportionment, which comes in January, which was 276,000, and that put us at about 54% of the budgeted revenue. Next slide. Looking at just the major categories of the revenues for the general fund. Sales property, cannabis and TOT tax was collected at 1.3 million, was 37% of the budgeted taxes. Franchise fees collected at 19,000 were 20% of the budget. License and permit fees at 66,000 were 80% of the budget. Charges for current services, which include service charges, planning and zoning fees, 6,500 collected. That was 14% of what was budgeted. Revenue from other agencies, such as motor vehicle license fees, in lieu and Prop 172, collected at 18.9 thousand, which was 10% of the budget. And other sources of revenues, which include supplemental law enforcement, interest and rents, was 251,000 collected and was 132% of budget. Next slide, please. Going into the general fund expenditures broken out by department. General fund expenditures as of 12/31 were 1.12 million of the $2.9 million budget for the fiscal year. Expenditures of the 1.1 million were 39% of the budget, which is a 6% increase as compared to the same expenditures last year, which were at 1.06 on 12/31 of 2024. Next slide, please. This is a pie chart that represents the percentages of the budget, the budget departments. So central services at 219,000 spent is 100% of the $220,000 budget. City council at 38,000 is as being spent is 68% of the $56,000 budget. Events didn't have a budget, so 14,000 was spent there. So that's 100% spent. And administration and finance at 95,000 spent is 24% of the overall $400,000 budget. Legal is at 48,000, which is 28% of the 171,000 defined for that budget. Fire is at 44,700 spent, is 50,000% or 50% of an $89,000 budget. Sheriff's it's 364,000 spent, is 39% of the $936,000 budget. If you could go to the next. Thank you. The building department at 32,000 spent is 38% of the $85,000 budget. Engineering at 37,000 spent is 24% of the $160,000 budget. Planning at 21,000 spent is 47% of the $60,000 budget. Buildings and grounds at 93,000 spent is 48% of the $193,000 budget. Parks at 70,000 spent is 44% of the $161,000 budget. And land development at 34,000 spent is 40% of the $86,000 budget. So the next slide is just included for general information. It's those same expenses, as you can see, the 2.9 million in expenditures for the budget and the $1.1 million that has actually been spent. That's by category. So that's all the departments for the general fund together, but split out by category. Next slide, please. So overall, looking at the fund balance review for the general fund, actually looks really good. The budgeted change in fund balance for the year is a negative number, but if you do see from the previous fiscal year, the change in fund balance was 1.9 million, which you can see that this is why your unrestricted numbers went from 3.79 in 2023 to 5.5 in 2024-25. And then because of the negative ending fund balance that was adopted in this year's budget, it'll drop. Again, that's just the budget. As of right now, based on where your budget's at with the general fund, you're basically 50% received in revenues with the property tax collection from January, and you're almost 50% of expenditures. So we're looking on target at this point. Moving to the next slide, just doing an overview of the wastewater fund revenues. We have three different major wastewater funds. 560 for maintenance and operations, 561s for collection and lift stations, and 563 for debt service. So looking at each of those, the revenues collected for Fund 560 we're at 744,000 or 49% of the $1.5 million budget. Fund 561, the collection and lift stations, we're at 110,000 or 49% of the budget of 225. Debt service revenues for Fund 563, we're at 310,000 or 48% of the $643,000 budget. Total revenues collected as of 12/31/2025 are 1.17 million versus the 1.14 million collected as of 12/31/2024. So that was a slight increase of 2% over the previous fiscal year. Moving to the next slide. This is an overview of the expenditures for each of those funds. Fund 560 at $672,000 spent is 47% of the $1.4 million budget for that fund. Collection and lift station expenditures for Fund 561 were $170,000 or 49% of the $346,000 budget. Debt service expenditures for Fund 563 are $19,000 or 4% of the $439,000 budget. That is due to timing. The debt service, you make one payment at the beginning of the year that's interest only, and then you make the next debt service payment, which is the principal and the interest. Total expenditures of 12/31/2025 are $860,000 versus $896,000 that was expended the same time last year, which is a decrease of 4%. So overall, the wastewater fund looks good as well. In the budget packet, just for further information, there's streets split out with an overview of what's going on with streets. And there's also a CIP with some noted changes. So there's three total amendments being proposed to the budget at this time. One of them is for 25,000. So there's two for general fund and one for wastewater. So the two for the general fund, one is for a $25,000 in increase in outside dining to the CIP. So you did have a $25,000 budget last year. The intention was that those downtown dining improvements, that $25,000 that wasn't spent was to be rolled over into the 25-26 budget and wasn't. So we're proposing an amendment for that to put it back in the CIP. Also an increase in the CIP for $19,370 for Tyler Technologies software project for the project. There was some costs that were associated to this project that weren't included in the budget. And then there is the staff proposal that there are 3 additional modules that make sense to include with the modules that are being put in right now or that are being configured. It's just going to enhance, one of them is going to enhance the efficiencies with payroll processing, which is basically electronic time cards where people log in and they do their own time. The accounts receivable module right now, we have a separate module we're using outside of fund balance, which is basically 2 sets of books, which is not something you want. So we're putting an accounts receivable module into the Tyler Technologies and getting rid of that other software that's being used for accounts receivable only. And then because of the city's heavy project and grant funding and work, we're proposing to add project and grant accounting into the module, which will make it much more efficient for tracking purposes and reporting purposes. The one adjustment to the sewer budget that's being proposed is a reduction in $27,000 for a project that was in the CIP for a membrane filter replacement that, after talking to the CPO, was completed last fiscal year, so doesn't need to be in there. So overall, the proposed fiscal impact for the general fund would be a decrease in the estimated fund balance of 44,370, which if you go back to that slide of the fund balance summary where the budget was adopted as it with a negative, so expenditures over revenues, that will drive that a little further. But knowing that you've got a very healthy unrestricted fund balance right now of over $5 million, that can be absorbed without any issue. And it would be an increase, the $27,000 would be an increase to the estimated working capital for the sewer fund. With that, I am happy to entertain any questions you have about the mid-year update.
Thank you so much. I love your reports. I'm all about graphics, so thank you for the pie charts and everything. It makes it easy. We will start with any comments or questions from the public. So if you do have any, please do come up to the microphone so we can make sure that everybody can hear, especially Councilmember Burris.
Hi. A question that you had on your graph where it showed a 23% decrease in sales tax revenue.
It's not just sales tax. It was, well, yeah, it was sales tax. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, you had higher collections and sales tax last year than you are having this year.
Okay, well, that proves
The city is.
that proves something. And then the other question I had was where you had the sheriff's budget
Mhm.
and it said that it was this much of this much. Could you give me that?
It's basically 50%. The city knows the contract at the beginning of the year when they're running the budget numbers. So having that number, you're gonna be basically right on target. So
Okay.
it's about 50% spent.
Okay, so half of the budget is how much for the sheriff?
Oh, I go back and look.
$80,000 or something like that.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's 936,000. So, yeah, you're actually a little underspent. I did not look at the detail on that, but I would say that it's at 39% as of December, that there might be a timing issue with one of the payments. Maybe there was 5 at that point in time, but you're still definitely on target in the sheriff's budget right now. But it should be basically 50% because you know that contract number walking into the budget.
Is there a way to get this is for the council, is there a way to get a copy of the budget from the sheriff, the proposed?
Yeah, it's actually a contract. It's the number they provide to us and.
Shouldn't we know how they come to that number?
I do believe there was one that was in the contract from, last year.
Yeah, if you just want to do a public records request, we'll get you what you need.
I can't hear you. You don't have the mic.
If you
You can't hear.
I did.
If you can do a public records request, we can provide to you what we were provided by the county
Okay.
when
All
that
right.
contract was
Okay.
opened up.
Okay. And what did you say the total was so far?
936, 364.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments or questions in regards to this? Okay, then we'll take it to the council. Questions, comments?
I do.
Oh, go ahead, Larry.
The first thing I saw with alarm is just a case of property tax revenues doesn't come in December.
No, actually, property tax.
It came in. I
Yeah.
saw that. So
It
that
comes-
I have no alarm left. I noticed.
3 installments, just for your
Yeah.
future information. It comes in January, May, and then a small.
No, I
portion
guess that
July.
because I pay it in December. So
Yeah.
I realized it was timing. One thing I saw was what is debt service expense? And it's at 4%.
That's
What
associated.
does that really mean?
That's your debt service is any kind of outstanding loan that you have against your wastewater treatment plant. I did not look into detail what that is. I've been here 30 days, so I'm digging fast and running hard, but I didn't look at exactly what the debt service is associated to. So Ron might be able to.
I want to say it's about 7 million and change for the last sewer upgrade is the debt service.
Again, I
That's
see,
right.
I mean, it's a small percentage of our revenue. So
Right.
um,
Still a big number.
I had another question on the sales tax. Well, first off, let me say something else. I had done a public service request sometime last year about how much of that $25,000 that we spent and for that we had budgeted for downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Down-
Mhm.
And the response I got was $9,000, and I think it represented people's time. So
It must have. I'd have to look further into that, but I didn't see that anything had been expended against it.
yeah, this came from, would have come from your predecessor, so it's kind of hard to know. But it was stated that 9,000 of that 25 had been spent,
Well, I can.
but it's probably just shown as part of employee staff costs, so it doesn't show up anywhere.
Yeah, I can certainly look into it, but my guess would be that's what it is, and it
Mm.
wasn't specifically tracked separately. And probably was just a number that was given and would just be in general fund, because it's a general fund CIP project.
Right.
So it was probably not moved into any special tracking.
So we didn't take money out of that, I guess, clearly.
No, we're proposing to put the whole 25,000 back in.
No, I have no alarm about that, just an observation. And then sales tax, 37% is where we're at, according to the chart.
Mhm.
And as of the end of the year, is that just seasonal, do you think? Or is that because of we don't get the money from the state until it's delayed? I mean, that's a pretty substantial drop from, I would expect it to be 50% if it's half the year.
Well, you definitely had increased sales tax last year.
Uh-huh.
A very fair amount, which is, it comprises a good majority of that $1.9 million change in fund balance, revenues over expenditures last year. That moved you from the 3.3 million on that fund balance summary to the over the 5 million. I think it's 5.5. So a lot of that had to do with a very increased sales tax. It's come back down to, it looks like a more normal, comparatively speaking, normal sales tax collection as compared to if you don't look at last year and look at the year before. It's more in line with that. So what the city is experiencing right now, though, when I did start digging into things, is without getting too far into the weeds, the way sales tax collection works and the way the state provides your sales taxes is they advance you the money. So each month you get it, you're being advanced the money, and it's based on a period of collection. Now, I'm going to have to do a little bit more refreshing of my memory about that, but they're basing it on a period from before. So they're advancing you money right now based on what last year's collections looked like. So what happens at the end of a quarter is you've received this chunk of money, and then at the end of that quarter, you get a true up. And that true up right now we're seeing is they're pulling back money from what they over advanced us based on the historical collection from last year. That's very generalized in a nutshell, the way sales tax works.
I think it's too soon to ask you to know the details of that. For example, I know a huge part of that is car sales. You know, I just wonder how that, why it's short. I don't know how they come up with the number, but we're dependent upon the state then to estimate how much they think it's going to be. And
they estimate it based on historical collection.
right, and we don't have any idea how they came up with what they came up with, right? Or do we?
Well, basically they're advancing on what it.
No,
looked
no,
like
I get
last
that
year.
part, but
Okay.
this is like 3/8 of the total that we got during half of the time. So I don't know if that's significant or if it's seasonal or if it's an indication that the number is going to be down over the year.
It could be seasonal. Right now, the city's working on a contract with, an updated contract with a little more enhanced services from HDL. I am definitely by no way, shape or form a sales tax expert. It would probably take a full-time person every day, all day to do what HDL can do. So we're looking at them for some slightly more enhanced service to help provide answers to some of those questions that I don't have for you right now.
I think that's the only significant thing that I saw
It could be, it could be seasonal. It could be that it's down from last year and down a little bit more for just the way things are performing right now. But I'm not 100% sure without really digging in and going into the reports and looking at the detailed reports,
I
which
would
I haven't.
just say it's
had time
something,
to do yet.
something to watch as that monthly money comes in. Because if we're going to be down 1/8 for a half of the year and we could be down a quarter for the whole year, that's a big deal.
Yeah, right now, I think what you want to focus on is what the budget was.
Yeah.
And the budget was, it was put in place, not attached to what you collected physically last year. There was a very conservative number put in there, and you're collecting on track, fairly on track with that.
That's one of the reasons I was asking, because according to our audit, the city did very, very well last year. And maybe that's why.
Well, you did have increased overall revenues. A big chunk of it was sales tax, and you also had a slight reduction in expenditures. So those two netted out to that additional 1.9 into your fund balance.
Okay, no other thoughts. Thank you.
Trinity, did you have any questions or comments?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty then. So can I have a motion approving the resolution amending our fiscal year 2025-26 budget?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. Clerk, a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Burris,
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas,
Aye.
Councilmember Loman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
Aye.
Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you so much. And our next item, we're going to keep going right along with budget conversations. And we're going to review and approve the budget calendar for our fiscal year 26-27. City Manager?
Yeah, well, this is another Katrina show, so she's up here and she'll talk about the upcoming schedule.
So as we just reviewed the mid-year, we're going into the next budget cycle for 26-27. And staff is proposing that a budget workshop be held by the city council staff and public to review the preliminary operating and capital budget for fiscal year 26-27 and provide suggestions for any additions, deletions, or changes to fit within the city's financial policies and available funding. It is recommended that this budget workshop be held in April 2026 to provide staff with adequate time to implement any revisions to the final draft of the budget prior to adoption at the June 10th meeting. I'll refer you to the second page of the attachment to the staff report, which outlines the dates and explains procedures and actions to be taken at each of those. So I'm just going to take you through those real quickly, but what I'll be looking for is what that council's pleasure will be to hold when to hold that workshop. March 11th is, so basically we're doing the budget calendar, approving that tonight. The 12th, starting tomorrow through the 25th. I'll be working with department heads to start processing requests and handing out worksheets and seeing what departments head operating and capital needs are going to be. The 25th through the 27th, I'm going to take all of that information back and I'm going to I'm going to compile that and put that together with a preliminary draft to budget draft to review. Then the 30th through the 3rd, the city manager and myself and the department heads will look at the overall budget once it's compiled and review, see if we need to make cuts, if we have room to add more. And then the 6th through the 8th of April, the city manager and I will be working together, what I'll call is massaging that, getting it to the best place for it to come forward to a budget workshop. So I've got a to be determined for posting the final draft because that'll be on an agenda. So I need to know what date we're going to do the workshop to know when the post, and the other to be determined is based on when I post the final. So what I'm looking for is, do you want a Saturday workshop? Do you want an evening workshop? Do you want it part of a regular council meeting? I'm just looking for what works for everyone. And what dates make sense to you?
I will start with council's opinion on when they would like to do the workshop, and then we'll go to public comment after that. But do you guys want to do it during a council meeting or hold a separate?
I think a separate workshop would be good in the evening.
Okay, I'm down with separate. Kim and Larry, are you okay with that as well?
I am.
Yeah. Trinity, are you okay with doing it as a separate workshop?
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at our April calendar, we do have city council on the 8th. Right now, we are scheduled to do our second town hall meeting on Thursday, the 9th. So do we want to do it that following week? Or do we want to go more towards the end of the month?
Just a reminder, man.
Oh, you have cap to cap.
Then
don't you?
Trinity and I will be gone
Right, and you're gone. What's the dates for that again?
4/10 through 4/22.
10 through 22. So that puts us at the last week of April, I think would be the earliest to do that. Does that work in your guys' schedule? We have, council meeting is the 22nd, which I know we're having a small conversation. If there's not a lot to do, we might cancel the 22nd meeting just because Trinity and Ron will be coming back from DC, but we'll see what's on the schedule. So if we're looking at the final week in April, we have 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Are there any preferences or anybody have any conflicts on that last week that we want to rule a date out right away? Sean's speedily checking his schedule right now.
Yes. So many calendars.
Right. I just color code mine all into one calendar.
I would say a Wednesday night, it would be good. The
So-
last week of April,
Okay,
whatever that is.
Wednesday would be the 29th week. I know that's in the morning, so that's okay. How does that work for you, the 29th?
We-
Trinity, do you think Wednesday, April 29th? Can you pencil that in or do you have any conflicts
Yep.
then?
Nope, I can probably do that.
All right. It's a little bit later than we'd like, but I think that's going to work with how much we have going on in April. So, all right, we will pencil that workshop for April 29th. We'll do our usual 6 o'clock. Okay.
Works for me. I'd say probably hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay, pretty normal. All right, so we will open this up to public comment or questions real quick in regards to this. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? Okay, do we have anything else from the council? Comments, questions?
I have one question. Most of the chart there is based upon expenses and expenditures. I'm wondering at what point do you guys come up with a revenue estimate in this
That'll be
time
something
frame?
that Ron and I work on.
Well, I just don't see it on here. It'll be
Well,
early on, right?
It'll be done during one of the portions that Ron and I are working together.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, so we don't have any other questions. May I have a motion to approve the budget calendar for fiscal year 26-27?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second,
Okay, Larry's got a second. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Burris,
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas,
Aye.
Councilmember Loman,
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
aye.
Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Katrina. All right, the next item of council business this evening is to review no, I'm sorry. That went backwards. Hold on. It's duplicated right there. Sorry. All right, we're moving on to 8C. So this is an item that we had brought up briefly a while back ago that Councilmember Burris had brought up. And I will let you go ahead and introduce that, Ron, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On October 22nd, 25, council directed city manager to develop a disposable foodware, convenience retail and road impact fee ordinance. Since that time, both council and staff have received considerable feedback from the community expressing dissatisfaction with the impact fee to the point that no ordinance has been developed. At the last, accordingly, staff is requesting the council reconsider and provide direction to the city manager to cease any additional efforts. If the council would like to budget something along the line of perhaps a nexus study and the next year's budget to investigate this item further or see what else we can do, we can take it up during budget preparation. And as request from Councilman Hilberg, or I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg, he would like to vote on this, whether to move forward or not tonight.
All right, before we have any conversation up here, do we have any comments or questions from the public on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Comments, questions, thoughts, motions?
I know I was the one that asked that this come back, and I was interested mainly in the transparency. I wanted us to do this in public rather than just forget the item. And reading all the whereases is an indication that we still have the problem, right? We're not doing anything about the issue. And I don't know whether that's good or bad, but we're deciding, it sounds like, to eat the costs because the businesses, or some of them, don't like it. And I mean, we didn't expect the businesses to like it, did we? You know, the question is for us to answer as a council. Are we willing to eat the cost of all this litter? And it is much worse, as we all know, since the chain stops and the traffic stops happen here during the winter. And if we do nothing, that means we're acknowledging that we're going to continue to spend that money cleaning up litter and not ask for any help. Is that correct? Is that a correct characterization of what you're saying?
I don't think so, Larry. If you don't mind me jumping in here, I reached out to Ron before the meeting about this item because I identified an issue with our minutes from the October 22nd meeting. It mentions in the minutes that we had directed this ordinance to go forward, which is actually the opposite of what happened. We had tabled this item and asked the city manager to find out what the cost would be for a nexus study should we ever consider any roadway mitigation ordinances, even in the spirit of this. But this ordinance in particular was clearly tabled. And several times within that meeting, I mentioned repeatedly that this was only a concept in theory, and it was to put a proposal in front of people to get people thinking so that hopefully somebody smarter than me would come back with a better idea. And I would really encourage the council to take a look at the video from the October 22nd meeting, because before I reached out to Ron, I rewatched the video to confirm I wasn't crazy. I do think it's important we remember that, because the way that this is phrased both on the agenda and in this resolution, it's functionally stating that we directed staff to go forward with an ordinance that we did not direct staff to move forward with. So I just want to clear the record there that the direction we gave staff was to figure out that whether or not it would be economically feasible for us to look into, frontage road mitigation options outside of just, lobbying for a tax measure. So I want to be clear on that for the sake of making sure that, if we have any interest in looking into any idea, that the intent tonight is not to shut that down. It was just this one particular idea that we already tabled, that we've established is not particularly favorable, that we do have folks that don't want to move forward with it, which I don't see as a problem because we never said we would move forward with it in the first place.
Thank you, Trinity. Do we have any other questions, comments? No. So Trinity, since this was kind of your idea to start with, do you want to make a motion to approve ceasing the development the way it's written right now, or do you want to make an amendment to it? How would you like to proceed?
I think the entire item is moot because it's all predicated on a council action that never happened.
So basically, the direction of staff is cease doing anything with the ordinance.
Yeah, like we're not, we never said move forward with the ordinance in the first place. I would still like to find out the numbers that staff found regarding any nexus studies, because there are completely other concepts that would require a nexus study, and I would still like to know what those numbers look like. Yeah, I don't think we should do anything on this item. I think we should just kill the item.
You want to make a motion, Trinity, then?
Sure. I move that we take no action on this item.
Okay. Sean's looking puzzled. Do we have a second?
I guess second, but with the, well, I guess counter motion, we take no real action on this item, but make a clear direction to staff is that there's no reason to move forward with it now, other than the Nexus study.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Sorry, if you don't mind, I apologize. My first motion was lacking any articulation. I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to correct the minutes from the October 22nd meeting to correct the record that we already killed it in the first place. And that the Nexus study is the only scope that they were to move forward with. Does that sound reasonable? That way at least we can correct our records.
Well, we can bring the October 25 minutes back to council to amend, but I don't think staff has authority to correct them nunc pro tunc. But we can certainly bring that back as a consent item next meeting, and we can take direction from council to investigate options for litter control.
I think that would meet both of our concerns because I know Sean wants to make sure that we're on the record clearly stating that we're not moving forward with this ordinance, and I don't disagree with him. I think the best way to do it would be to correct that record that we already killed it. And then that way we do have, our accurate minutes. So if we want to bring that forward, I think that'd be great. So yeah, motion to bring back the minutes for correction and move forward with just the quotes for the Nexus study.
The second.
Is our direction clear before we take a vote?
Yes, I'm not clear. Basically, we're just going along with what staff recommended, right? Staff recommend
No,
we cease development, but there are other things that were introduced that we haven't talked about before. And Nexus study, we brought up a couple times. I guess we can take that action or not. Or do we have to get that agendized and discussed?
no, that's exactly what my motion is, Larry, is we would just be correcting the minutes from the
Okay.
October 22nd meeting to make sure they accurately reflect the fact that we never even gave staff direction to start writing an ordinance in the first place. The only direction we gave staff at that meeting was to get us some quotes for how much it would cost if we want to do a Nexus study in case we want to pursue other ideas. So the direction in my motion was to have staff follow through with the original direction and bring back our minutes for correction.
Yeah. So does that make sense? So
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure that's what we said or that's not what our motion was, but I agree with it.
Okay.
That is my motion.
All right. So we have Trinity for the motion. We have Sean for a second. Connor, you're good with where we're at on the motion in the second?
Yes, we have a motion from Councilmember Burris that has 2 points. Bring back the minutes from the October 22nd, 2025 meeting for review by the council. And direction to staff to investigate options for litter control near the highway is how I'm phrasing it.
Nexus study.
And a quote for a Nexus study.
The direction was to find quotes for the Nexus study because it might not just, the whole point of the original proposal was not contained only to litter. And I want to be very clear, my motion is to get quotes for Nexus studies because the scope of a Nexus study could be pertaining to litter. It could be for roadway mitigation. I don't want to put a limitation on it, on scope.
Then I would respectfully request the council member clarify what she means by Nexus study. Because it's at least not clear to me. I don't know if it's clear to the city manager.
So what I mean by Nexus study is if we have any proposal in the future of any kind that we want to have a fee that is specifically to mitigate anything to do with the frontage roadways, whether it be litter or the actual pavement or anything like that, it's going to require specifically something called a Nexus study that relates whether a fee is tangibly related enough to the impacts that we are funding through our own budget and our own resources for us to be able to legally assign a fee to recover costs for mitigating that activity. So we don't have a formal proposal for what we want to study, but study costs generally stay within a certain level of scope, and we're not looking for specifics, like, okay, here's a finalized and well-tailored quote. We're looking for price ranges. So we're talking about a couple of phone calls to providers. We're not asking for putting anything out to bid. We're just looking for the generalized cost of how much it would take to engage a third party to be able to perform such a study should we want one.
If I may, I'll define a nexus study for everyone's edification. A nexus study is an in-depth analysis of a business activity such as a physical presence, employee location, and sales volume to determine if it has sufficient connection or nexus to a jurisdiction to warrant a tax obligation.
All right, clear as mud? There we go, yeah. Because I did that magic, let's just Google it, so I knew exactly what the Nexus study came pretty much, what Ron was basically the businesses that are along the frontages, their impact on that space. And can there be a tax implication to it? That's my translation. All right, so we have a motion, we have a first and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
I'd like to discuss it at least a little bit. I have one comment. I think that the boogeyman here is the litter itself. And of all the complaints I remember from last winter had to do with the fact that people were leaving behind tremendous amounts of litter. They were parking over there by the cemetery. I think a lot of you remember some of what was being left behind there. It wasn't very pleasant to clean up. And the businesses that I spoke to said that the people stop there and they just wait for traffic to open and they don't spend any money in town anyway. They don't really provide any benefit to our businesses that are significant. They just wait for the freeway to open. That's the two complaints I heard, the litter itself and the fact that they don't spend much money. They just want to get going again,
We brought a ton of people downtown during the last shutdown. I was driving down, telling people, come on downtown, there's warm places to sit and bathrooms and all sorts of stuff. So it's just getting that word out there that we're down here and you only got to drive a short distance and we're monitoring the freeway for you. So when it opens, you'll be first in line. So I think just that outreach helped a lot this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We were out of parking spots downtown at multiple points.
Including the back lot behind the freight depot. So yeah, definitely working. And I do totally sympathize with all of our neighbors that live right there along where everybody likes to park, both our businesses and the homes. But I also think we can't making an ordinance for 360 days out of the year because of what happens on 5 days of the year, that's not quite a fair balance either. Definitely, maybe we can have some conversations about, a dumpster when we know they're going to shut it or, porta potties. There's lots of conversations to have strictly about the road closures. I think it's very separate than what we're looking at here too, but it's definitely still worth something discussing.
I'm not suggesting that we do anything, only that we talk about it because the problem still exists. And the people that live in this city and our staff are the ones that pay for it.
And to be clear, it's not limited, like the whole conversation that I was trying to bring up in the very beginning of this isn't limited to litter. This was just a framework other cities had implemented. So I was bringing it up, in a tailored way to where we could look at it, as, is this something we would want to do? But there are also examples specifically pertaining to roadway mitigation, as in the actual roads themselves. And Nexus studies aren't limited to just assessing fees for businesses themselves. So, the total scope of what we're capable of having in this conversation is quite broad. And what I'm hoping we can get out of this very long conversation of something I thought was very simple is I'm really hoping it'll spark interest in the general public to have some creative thinking, maybe go home and research what some other cities have done. And hopefully somebody will have a really good idea that'll help us pave our roads because while I really care about making sure that they look nice and are free of litter and all that, at the end of the day, I really just want to make sure my highest priority on this is, we do get a lot of out of area traffic that does not contribute a whole lot to our sales tax or does not, necessarily contribute in general to the fund pots that are going to fund our roads. But we take the brunt of that impact, and anything we can do in our creative minds to try to find a way to recover the cost that is being done to our roads from the people who are not living here and funding those roads, I think would be ideal, because the people who live here should not have to solely saddle the cost of everybody visiting.
All right, thank you for the input. We have a motion, we have a second. Let's go ahead and do our roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Burris,
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas,
Aye.
Councilmember Loman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
Aye.
and Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you so very much. Go to the order. And we will start with you, Sean.
Nothing for tonight. Thanks.
Okay. Kim?
I've always admired the city of Austin, Texas. They are a happening town. It's a vibrant town. Their official motto is keep Austin weird. Now, we laugh at that, but I think we could imitate them in some respects. And Jim Bauer's idea of a choo-choo clock fits in that category. So I think we should think about doing something that's a little, out in left field, rather than just going by the usual routine we go by. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind, that we need to try something a little weird, like the choo-choo clock. That's all. Thank you.
Larry?
I agree with Kim on that. I think something iconic would be good. And at some point in the future, I would like to see that on the agenda and let us discuss the idea and deal with it rather than just let it die. And then secondly, I would like to agendize a presentation of the status of our hotel project. Not now, just I'd like to, I have no idea what's going on there, and that's probably the most common question I get asked by the public. They're saying, what's happening? Why don't we know? We don't think it's ever going to happen, blah, blah, blah. So I'd like to see just a presentation on the project and how it's going and the city's role in that. And I'd like to see it on the agenda. That's all.
Okay. Trinity?
The only thing I have for tonight is on the next agenda. If everyone's agreeable, I'd like to place the resolution specifically allowing the existing dispensary in town to deliver. So I'm happy to write the resolution and send it over to staff so that we can save staff time, but I would like to have that on the agenda if the rest of council is agreeable.
I missed the first sentence.
The existing dispensary we have in town is struggling, and if they are able to deliver to their patients, that will help them a lot. We have out of area delivery, and I would like to put a resolution on the next agenda, basically just confirming that we are going to allow them to do delivery service.
Okay, thank you. Before I go through my list of current events, and I'll go to the order, I will tell you that I have a meeting tomorrow in regards to the hotel, and it's a good one. So things are still moving forward, I promise. And Larry and Kim, my suggestion for you in regards to the choo-choo clock would be like we have any other organization that comes with a project idea. Get your budget put together. Let's start some fundraising. You're going to have to, especially something like that, it's going to require engineering. So that's something that the person that wants to spearhead the project should be putting those numbers together and getting solid numbers, because that's the place to start, is getting solid numbers to build it. And also, of course, any engineering, we're talking about something that's floating in the air. So I don't know if that's something that should come into council before we have a solid proposal from an organization that wants to spearhead that. So whether you guys want to take the lead on that or work with another nonprofit to be able to start doing some fundraising for it. But I think I know we have a beautiful picture and a concept. We can't do anything with concepts. We need solid numbers, both in materials and building expense and the engineering that's going to have to go into it. So I would request that you guys do some brainstorming, talk to Jim, and maybe see if we can start putting some of that stuff together to actually give us something to work with. So that would be my request on that. So for good of the order, there is so much going on in town right now. And you know me, I like to keep you guys up to date on events and happenings. So we do have the VFW St. Patrick's Day dinner is on the 14th. And as of today, they still had a couple of tickets available. So reach out to the VFW to be able to get those. On the 21st, both the Colfax baseball is having a fundraiser pancake breakfast, and I believe that's the same date as the Colfax Bazaar, I believe, on the 21st. On the 18th of next week, the 3rd of July has a fundraiser over at TJ's. And on that Sunday, the 22nd, it is at El Tapatio down in Auburn. Sunday is Sunday brunch. Definitely recommend that one. And I did put some flyers on the table out here. The Placer County Youth Commission has a 5K. It's called Free Your Mind, Free the Air Awareness 5K that will be happening on March 21st. And it's an event focused on raising the awareness about the impact of tobacco and nicotine products on our youth. So that's what I've got for you. Connor, you got anything good for good of the order?
Form 700 is due at the end of March. So if you haven't done it already, file your Form 700. Ron, Katrina, are you subject to that?
Yeah.
You've already done it. I need to do mine.
Right. One last thing I have is I just received the emergency quote to fix the power out at the wastewater treatment facility. I'll be sending Connor a copy of the agreement so he can bless it before I sign it. For the basic repair, we're looking at $48,000. If we were to change all the poles out, and some of them, they'll last for years more, but some of them are getting there on the list. That would be 158. And they were not able to put together a quote for undergrounding. They were saying at least $250,000. So I'll be moving forward with that as soon as Connor blesses the emergency repair. So we can get the power back up because we're in desperate need of that. Approximate duration, 3 days to a week of construction. That's all I have.
Those are fantastic numbers, Ron.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because I meant to run them by you before this too. So sorry.
No worries. No, I just want to say hopefully that is the final quote. We're not looking at any change orders. That is a fantastic quote for the scope we need done.
So my basic plan is to do the basic repair and then evaluate from there. We'll probably bring in some tree people after that to make sure there's no trees that look like they could fall down a line in any time in the near future. And then decide whether we want to budget to underground or keep doing upgrades in the treatment plant and just have a contract with the tree company to come in and just start topping the trees, anything that could hit the line if it happened to fall.
Okay, so do we have any public comment in regards to everything we just now ran through in our good of the order? Okay, make sure the green button's on Harry because nobody's been up there for a bit.
Okay, Harry Anderson, on that 23% sales.
Well,
difference?
it has to be on something that we just commented on in good of the order. So if you have any questions on anything from the meeting before, you can email it into the office and inquire. So the comment right now is just on what we said during good of the order.
When did this change to this?
It's always been that
No,
way.
it hasn't.
Okay, so you can comment on good of the,
I
anything
know
we
I used
said
to
here.
come up here and talk about stuff all
Harry?
the time.
Well, we are keeping our meetings as professional and by the book as we can at this point. So if you would like to comment on anything from good of the order, you're welcome to.
So-
If not, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
So we can't talk about anything
That was during public comment.
okay.
So
Once again, we're gonna put something off that's vital to the city.
we are commenting on good of the order only right now. So if there's
So once
anything
again,
else, you are
put off
welcome to
something
send it
that's
into
gonna
the
do with
city.
And we wonder why we're in
Okay,
trouble.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody
Yeah,
else have any
wonder why we're in
comment? That's
trouble.
enough, Harry. Thank you.
Whatever.
Does anybody else have any comments for good of the order? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.